Well, so a couple of things to think about. I always come from everything from a financial lens. So, where are you financially? And are you ready to buy the
Mm.
business? And so that looks at your personal finances. Like people who buy a business think it's going to make money day one. And depending on how you build it, maybe it does, but more often than not, I don't think it does. I tell people if you're starting a business, it's 3 years to get to a good point. Even if you're buying a franchise, if it's not running, you've got all those ramp up costs that you have to do. And then if you're buying a business, the question is, can you afford the financing? And what does all of that look like? And then there's just the volatility of owning a business, right? You got to make payroll all the time. Life happens, things that you expected don't go as expected. And so, what kind of cash reserves do you have to be able to weather that storm? And do you have excess cash outside of just your starting capital? Do you have operating capital? Half of all businesses don't make it more than, I think, 5 years.
Mm.
And one of the biggest reasons is cash. So, you've got to make sure you're in that place that your home life can support whatever that is. Maybe it's a spouse working, maybe you have some other way of making money, but your first couple of years, don't expect a big paycheck.
Just to build on that, Rocky, the financial part is really, really important. I meet people all the time who want to buy a business because they believe that on day one they're going to be able to start making money. And to be honest, if you do a deal correctly and it is the right deal at the right price, you should be making some kind of investment, even if you're borrowing money to do it. And you should be making money on the very first day that you own it. And when people struggle and they don't make money, it's usually because something is wrong with the deal. They either haven't structured the financing correctly or they're overpaying perhaps. But I meet a lot of people who just do not have the financial strength to pull a deal off. And they end up trying to band-aid and duct tape a deal together using the incorrect types of financing. They'll use like short-term financing. They'll try to get an advance on a credit card. Like they'll patchwork all this stuff together and then put themselves in a really bad position. I've told more than one person who was trying to, date a deal together, hey, you just don't have the capital for this. If you want to get into business, you're probably going to have to look at starting something. And if you need money right now for an income, then you're probably going to have to look at starting something on the side where you can keep some kind of income stability with a job and maybe explore some kind of side hustle thing that you can then grow over time. And one of the things that I find people very much get into trouble with is that their expectations are askew by maybe what they've been consuming online. The average age of a successful startup and the average age of a successful acquisition is like mid 40s. But if you watched Instagram, you would think that everybody's doing this and getting rich at 23. And I'm meeting so many people now under 30 who literally feel frustrated because they feel like they're behind because they're comparing themselves to this stuff that they're seeing on Instagram. And I have to say to them, like, that's media. Like that is meant for consumption and it's meant to be addictive and it's meant to create a feeling within you to keep you looking at it. And I worry sometimes that people are getting themselves into trouble because they really don't have the correct idea of what it looks like to be in business or just the wisdom and experience that go along with being able to do it successfully.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I always say, get the financials in order. How are you looking to run this business? If you're going to leave your job to run this business, I always jokingly say, if you're the only income earner in the household, who's paying your rent, your mortgage, your student loans, your utilities? You need to have that financial buffer. There's also going to be different ways of funding it. If it's a resale, if it's an existing business that you're acquiring or a brand new franchise. So get those financials. And it's okay not to have all the answers, but it's not okay not to have your financials. You can run different scenarios. If I keep my job, maybe my costs are going to be a little bit higher, but I'm going to hire a general manager. Maybe I leave my job, but it's okay to do those scenarios. So that way you have a full picture. You can pick the scenario, not the best scenario. I always say there's no such thing as the best scenario. It's the best scenario for you, because people usually ask for my opinion and I go, it's not my decision to be made. My role is really just to let you know what your options are.
You've got your finances in order. Now comes the part that trips up even the smartest buyers. Next, the panel reveals the most common math mistakes people make when analyzing a seller's books. And David shares a jaw-dropping story about a deal that went south over one tiny accounting oversight.